We use arrays to manage many items of the same type. Some common behaviours for arrays include sorting, initializing values, copying the array, and finding an element. As I mentioned in the last video, this behaviour isn't on the array instance itself, but rather provided on a helper class, java.util.arrays. And we saw an example in the last video when I used the arrays.toString method. Let's review Oracle's API documentation for this class. Looking at the methods in this class can be a bit overwhelming because there are so many overloaded versions. Let's pause for a moment and look at each of the overloaded versions for a single method, binary search. You can see support for many types of arrays. First, for most of the primitive type arrays, you can see these as we scroll down: char, double, float, int, long, etc. Note that Boolean is not supported due to it having only two values, true or false. There's the object array, which I discussed in the previous video. There are many overloaded versions for a single named method. This means, for example, I can use the binary search method for an array of any type. In this video, I'll review a few of the most common methods you'll use. I've created a project called Using Arrays with the usual main class and main method. The first thing I want to do is create another method in this class that will return an array of random integers. I will call this method getRandomArray, and it'll take the length of the array to be created as the only argument. Private static int array getRandomArray with the parameter an int called len. Random equals new random. Int array new int equals new int array with a length of len. Return new int. The first thing to notice here is the first statement in the method, where I am creating a variable of type random. Random is another class in the java.util library that can be very useful. This class has methods on it to return random numbers, which we'll be using shortly. You can see I'm also creating a new array and setting it to the size that was passed in as the method's argument. This new array then gets returned from this method. Next, I want to assign a random number to each element in the array. I'll use a regular for loop with int I equals 0, I less than len I plus plus. New int array I equals random dot, next int passing 100, return new int. Since I'm assigning values to the array elements, I used a traditional for loop. The enhanced for loop is not suitable for setting values of an array. Each element gets assigned the result of the random.nextInt method, which returns a random integer value. If you don't pass any arguments to this next int method, it will return any number from 0 to the maximum integer value. But I want to limit the random numbers, so I passed 100. This argument is called the exclusive upper bound. This method returns a random number between 0 and 99, and it excludes 100. If I wanted 100 to be included in the random selection, I'd specify 101, and so on. My new method, getRandomArray, returns a new array of the length I specify and fills it with random numbers. Going back to the main method, I want to call this method to get a random array and then print it out. Int array first array equals getRandomArray, passing 10. I'll print the first array using arrays.toString. Here I create a variable of type int array and assign it the result of my getRandomArray method. And I call the static method arrays.toString, passing my array to it, and running this. You can see that I got 10 random numbers. Your own numbers will be different, and they'll be different every time you run it. This is because they're randomly generated. Maybe the first thing you'd like to do when you get data from any source is sort it, if it's not already sorted. Java provides a sort method for us in this case on the same arrays class. I'll give that a try. I'll call arrays.sort, passing first array, and print out the value returned from a call to arrays.toString, passing first array. I call sort directly using the class name arrays and pass first array to it. This method doesn't return anything. Its return type is void, so I'm not getting a new array object back. The actual array I passed to it gets sorted, which we should be able to see with the println line I added, and running that. You can see my numbers were ordered from low to high, which is called the natural order for numeric values. Let's say I want to set all the values in an array to my own initial value before processing. I want something besides zeros, but I don't want to use an array initializer because I want them all to be initialized with the same value. I can do this with the arrays.fill method, I'm going to create a new array for this. Int array, second array equals new int array with 10 elements. I'll print out the elements from the array using arrays.toString. Next I'll call arrays.fill, passing the array and 5 as arguments. And print out second array again. This first statement creates a 0 filled array because 0 is Java's default for elements in an integer array. But on this line, where I call the fill method, it sets every element to 5. Let's run the program to see what it outputs. You can see that elements started out as all zeros and then were changed to all 5s. Maybe you don't really want these changes being made to your original array. You can create a copy of the array and apply operations to the copy. Let's look at how to do that. Int array third array equals get random array of 10 elements. I'll print it. Int array fourth array equals arrays.copyOf passing third array and its length. I'll then print out fourth array. Again, I'm creating a random number array there, here on that first line, this one with 10 elements. Then I call arrays.copyOf, which takes the array and a length or size as the second argument. Since I want an exact copy, I just pass the current length of the array I want copied, running that. As you can see, the third and fourth arrays have the same elements in the same order. What if I sort the elements in this copied array the fourth array? Will this have any effect on the third array, the array I made a copy of? Let's test that. Arrays.sort passing fourth array, and I'll print out third array first using arrays.toString and then fourth array, and running this code. You can see that fourth array is sorted, but the array I copied the data from, third array, is still in its original state. An array copy creates a new array, a new instance of an array, and copies the array elements over to the new array. For primitives, the values get copied. For objects, the object references get copied. Performing operations on the copied array, like sort and fill, don't impact the original array. Let's see what happens when the length I pass is less than the number of elements in the array. Int array, smaller array equals arrays.copy of third array, but 5 as the length. And I'll print it. Now here I'm passing 5 as the second argument. When I run this, you can see that this gives me only the first 5 elements in the copied array, and I'll test one more example. I'll pass a value greater than the size of the array. Int array, larger array equals arrays.copyOf, third array, and 15 this time. I'll print it. Now here the length of my array is 10, but I want an array of 15 elements. Is this going to work? I'll run it. As you can see from this output, I got my 10 elements copied over in the order they were when I made the call, but I have 5 more elements in this array initialized to 0. This one method can be used for 3 different types of copies: a full copy, a partial copy, and a copy plus additional elements. This video is getting a bit long, so I'll end it here and continue in the next video. I'll see you in that next video.